This problem especially acute for Cubase composers and sound engineers, who either deal with huge hybrid orchestral projects or make complicated multi-layered sound design, struggling in optimization CPU load all the time. We are forced to resort to different ways of optimization, achieving a certain control over the performance of a processor. The one of the efficient solving ways of this issue is the render in place. This instrument led to convert MIDI track into wave track at the same time without losing source data. However, the main goal of the render in place is keeping under control a sound. This is especially important when we take some VST instrument with wobbly changeable form of sound wave, where you like either some spike or some part of them. Or another example, we use some VST strings library where one of samples sounds louder than other ones. Sometimes it satisfies the goals and perform tasks, but in most cases we should waste a lot of time before we'll achieve the desired result. So we have the render in place. But is it so well done as we expected for? A significant problem for those who have to face with is the implementation of rendering of multi-layering instruments. Now suppose we have several virtual instruments based on the Kontakt platform, and usually we load bunch of instruments inside one Kontakt for saving CPU resources. This in turn makes it difficult for a mixing process. That is why we configure instruments routing bus through a multi-channel and the mixing fulfill outside the Kontakt in DAW. Further, for speeding up a composing process, at the first we will work out all the MIDI parts of piece of the music, and then we will run the render in place for all of them. After that, we will be faced with that majority of generated files are empty, mixed with muted events of MIDI tracks. It is okay if your audio tracks are located close to each other, but if they spread out among all the project, we should waste extra time to look for unnecessary empty tracks. Let's start from making realization of the smart render in place for composing music. Well, first things first. For cleaning the mess, we need a way to filter unnecessary tracks. We will make a few very convenient presets in the project logical editor. Don't worry, it will be easy. The first necessary preset to hide all audio tracks that we see on the screen. This preset will allow us to concentrate on work with MIDI tracks, and also will be useful to make the smart render in place a bit later. Well, let's do the following. Open the project logical editor. Push plus under first block. Choose media type is into filter target column. Equal enter condition audio into parameter 1 column. Push plus under second block. Then choose target operation in action target and enable in parameter 1 column. Switch function into transform mode. And the last step to save preset you should push here. Let's make the name MV hide all audio tracks. And then we should make one more preset, hide all MIDI tracks. We will do it over the previous preset. Push plus here. Choose name in filter target column, contains not in condition column, and sketch in parameter 1 column. Change this parameter into MIDI and save it as MV hide all MIDI tracks. These two presets I use all the time. That is why I have assigned these presets as buttons on my Stream Deck. But you can assign it on your tablet as hotkeys on your keyboard or mouse. By the way, I will show you my workflow with Stream Deck and how I organized it in one of the next episodes. And now let's do the render in place macro. We need to open K-Commands menu. Then if you don't see the macros menu, please push the show macros button and we are ready to make. If you push that button, you can type the name of new macros. Let it be MV render in place music. Then we will look for the save function to put it inside the macros. Then push the add button and type hide all audio tracks and push add again. Then type in search field the render in place and push search button. If the search result is not suitable, you can push search button a few times. Until then it will be found. If it found render with current settings, push add button here. Okay, the last thing we need to add a hotkey hide all MIDI tracks. Please find and push here. Finally, we can assign a hotkey for that. I'd recommend you assign this macro to your mouse for often use. Well, let's tune the render in place by default. If you're in an empty project as me, let's do the following. I will make a new track and make an event. To open the render in place configuration, you need to select any MIDI event. Otherwise, it is not available to select. Okay, configuration. Mode should be switched as separate events. Processing as channel settings. The most important option for virtual instruments is the tail, where you have sounds with long reverb. You can adjust it as you need. But for me, it's appropriate for MIDI notes recorded off an intersection of event blocks. Let's see. With and without. And the last, we need to switch source event to mute mode. Let's look at my short example. In this project we have string section that I've composed before. As I said previously, the bus streaming has multi-channel configuration. Let's select our MIDI events and run the smart render in place. Please wait for a while. Now we need to get rid of empty tracks, deselecting necessary ones, and delete them. It reminds only clean up the tails. At the end we can come back using redo visibility change function. By the way, I highly recommend you to watch my previous video about how I hacked my SSL UF8 and optimized the workflow with it. You can find something new and useful about visualization in general. I often move backwards and forwards between different projects, especially jump between different areas. Today I'm music composer, tomorrow I will do sound design or will shape a foley for cartoons. It is especially important not to be distracted by looking for habitual hotkeys. So let's make one more render in place macro. It will be faster at this time. Let's push on that render in place macro. Then push duplicate and type the name. Let it be a short version. Then unfold just the duplicated macro and select hide all audio tracks. Hit remove button here. Then repeat this operation with hide all MIDI tracks. Okay, now we have the simple version of the render in place. Alternative hotkey set. Before assigning a new hotkey, let's save hotkey set for music. It is possible to perform at the same place. If the list of alternative hotkey sets is not empty and you don't use it, you can clean it up by deleting one by one. Now let's save new hotkey set and call it music. Now we can assign the hotkey for the simple render in place. We should assign the same hotkey as we used for the music render in place. Find it on the macro folder. Click on it and searching by name. Okay, cool. Let's save one more hotkey set with name SFX. Now we can switch between these two sets using this combination. When we work with composing music, use the music hotkey set. Or when we jump into SFX world, just switch the set and work again, using the same hotkey for the render in place. If Ctrl plus F11 doesn't work for you, find it in hotkey map. It names toggle alternative key commands. Now really important part. Using hotkey set toggle, when you assign new hotkey, remember that you should assign it on each set. I will show you step by step. For example, we need to take some new macro and assign hotkey. Firstly, push toggle hotkey set, then assign hotkey and save it at the same set. It was music. It means it should be music set again. Then push toggle hotkey set again and do it in SFX set. Assign hotkey and save hotkey set in SFX. Do it all the time twice. If you don't save hotkey set, you can lose your hotkey that was just assigned. Bonus: event moving. When I work in SFX side, usually it is any cartoon with a lot of sounds in there. I tend to follow special order and move just rendered events on particular workspace. And of course clean it up simultaneously. This process is quite simple. Why don't we just implement it now? Let's take a look at an example. I have a VST instrument modulating whoosh FX. I often use it as generated only, changing some parameters without saving previous configurations. In this case we will use the render in place for saving necessary sample variants. Then we can paint the render and sample on special color. Then copy last generated sample in buffer, delete selected track and jump into necessary place for pasting. Let's do the same thing by using the new macro. But before we need to make a few presets on Project Logical Editor. The task is to paint the same. Let's open the Project Logical Editor and make new preset. Set searching criteria. Media type should be equal audio. Container type should be equal event. And property set as selected event. Let's switch function as transform and add one action. Color should have the fixed value with some color. Let's highlight event by red color. Okay, it's ready to save preset now. Let's name it as set red color. The next task is to show and select necessary track. Let's separate it by two presets. First is to show and second is to select. Now let's do it. Let's set media type equal audio. The name should be contained NoFX1. Function should be set as transform. And add one more transformation. The track operation should hide a track with parameter 1 as disable. Let's save it as show NoFX1. Then let's modify this preset for selecting. We should select the modifier and hit delete. Set the function as select. It reminds only to save it. Let's name is select NoFX1. And now we can start to make our macro. Let's open the K commands menu. We should make a new macro and name it as cut and put. Let's find and add cut command. Then find and add remove selected tracks. Then add our shown preset here. Then add selected preset. Then find past at original and add it. Finally, find and add set color red preset. Okay, that's over with macro. We can assign hotkey and I will show you in practice. Of course, our project should have a stack of tracks with one of them has name NoFX1. Let's take some whoosh that have been generated earlier. Hit the render in place hotkey and then hit cut and put. It's so fast! But if selected track had been busy, you can move event using the mouse. Thanks for watching, put the comments down below, subscribe and see ya!